Are we live? Are we live? I think we're live. YouTube was slow, but it looks like we're live, and there is at least one person watching this stream.
You can't tell if we're live or not?
YouTube sometimes it'll say the stream is good, but it won't say that we're actually live yet. Like the UI has been laggy lately, I've noticed when I'm streaming.
Mm-hmm.
I've also noticed it tends to show the previous name of the stream for a couple hours sometimes again.
Yeah, they're really bad about updating the thumbnails and that stuff quickly.
Yeah, they got better for a while, but then it got worse in the last month.
I don't know why it can't just be instant.
I mean, I can imagine a bunch of reasons why, but it's like, I don't know.
It probably has to do with like CDNs and caching and stuff, but it's like
something like that.
That makes sense for some things, but not for your title of your stream and your thumbnail.
Yeah, I don't know. I could design the YouTube studio better, but it's not my job. They're not paying me to do that. It's Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we are talking about Star Wars Squadrons. It's out. You may recall we were going to do this show a couple weeks ago, but horrible water came up out of my sink, and that was an odyssey to deal with. It is now dealt with, but I had to deal with it. But this past weekend, I wanted to go out hiking. I would like that, like hiking in the remote wilderness, much like biking in the middle of nowhere, is a decent hobby to have in the middle of a global pandemic. Like, stay away from people, be in the middle of nowhere. This time,
but everyone has the same idea. Run away to the woods. There's no people there.
They do have that idea, but the vast majority of people will never get more than a mile away from a parking lot or a trailhead. So you just go somewhere remote, get to a hard trail, and you won't encounter any people.
Yep, that's what happens when I go biking. Is like I'll go out into the who knows where. And as soon as I get, I'll encounter bike paths that are like trails separate from the road. Mm-hmm. And if I'm near the road or near the end, there'll be people. And then you just go a bit and it's like, no more people.
Yep. Like on the South County Trailway, you're going and there's that one park where there's a big parking lot and there's 1 million people on the trail just there. Get even a half a mile past that. Nobody.
Yeah, it's like people only go so far, and then nope, they're like, that's as far as I go. They turn around, and the density just like drops off precipitously.
Yep. Which, I thought my whole life I've thought about that. Like that was a thing that my kid brain even noticed when my family would go hiking. But I thought about it a lot when we first moved to New York again. Like it came back into my brain because I noticed, I run a lot and I run over the bridges. And I always started counting, like I noticed that I'd pass a lot more people near the two ends of the bridge, but I'd pass a lot fewer people in the middle of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think some people start walking up the bridge and just turn around and walk back.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, yeah.
Yep. So anyway, the one thing about hiking out in the wilderness is that if you have good charts and trail maps and you know how to orienteer, like that's one thing. But if you're going somewhere where you don't know the trails, like you need a trail map. And I've realized that a lot of people
the trails can just be really well marked, so the map is just inherent in the territory.
Well marked is only good for little baby short hikes, though, because if you want to go a long distance, you're going to have to cobble together a route.
Yeah, nothing is well marked that's that long.
Or some things are, like the Appalachian Trail, very well marked, and you can spend months hiking that thing.
Yeah, but there are still areas, like there'll be gaps where you're sort of not, you could get lost. It happens.
Yeah, but the point more is that if you want to plan a long hike, that gets you back to your car because you can't it's not like I can do hiking where we go up with a bunch of people and we leave cars at both ends of a big hike because we can't go with people. That defeats the whole purpose. So,
you could go with one person to one end, another person with the other end, and then you just, when you pass each other, you swap keys. Keys.
That's actually not a bad idea.
So you don't have to retread. Your hike would be the same length, but you would be seeing twice as much territory because you...
Yep. And it avoids the problem that I was trying to avoid of usually when I do that trick, you together drive up in a bunch of cars and leave cars at places, but that defeats the point of avoiding people with COVID. So that's not a terrible idea.
You just have to be very clear about where the other car is so you can find it because you didn't park it.
And then
you might be like, where is the other car? Oh, no.
But... the problem with hiking and cobbling, like making a route to do a loop, like I know I want to hike like 20 miles. I go and look at maps. There aren't really online maps of trails.
Oh, yeah, there are. In New York State, every trail has like a map website, a PDF.
They do. They have a map website or a PDF.
Yeah.
Those are usually incomplete. More importantly,
they're zoomed out mostly.
No, I hike a lot. A lot of them are incomplete, or they have a map for one particular trail system, but we hike far enough to where we're actually going to cross through multiple trail systems. So
you got to get multiple PDFs.
You need 3 different maps, but that makes it difficult to plan your route in advance, knowing that you have to make a big loop and get back somewhere when you can't put it into a GPS tracker and it just shows you the route. You have to line up the maps, figure out where this trail system ends and that trail system starts.
Oh, why don't you make an app that fixes that? Make a hiking app, make the hiking Strava, and make money.
So someone did. It's called All Trails. So I tried it out. Just doesn't fucking work. It costs money. It doesn't work at all. You go to this website and it is really good for free. I'm poking around on it and it shows you every goddamn trail on earth. You just can't use it on your phone remotely, but looking at a website, that's how I figure out where to go get real trail maps and do the real work. But you have to pay to get access to the details and download to your phone. So I tried to sign up for an account. Their account sign up just doesn't fucking work on the website. It's just you can't make an account. You make an account, never sends you an email.
Competing app that doesn't suck and make money.
Yeah, but it's fascinating to me that this service exists where there's a phone app, and if you pay for it and use it only on your phone, you can make an account and it seems to work. But they have a website that does the same thing. The website just does not work. There is no way to actually make an account on this website. It just
There's probably 2 people working there, if any people.
Yep.
They probably just made it, set it up, and then called it a day.
Yep. I noticed that a lot with apps where there's a lot of the biking apps are kind of shitty like that too.
I mean, pretty much every crappy biking app is dead. The only one that survives that's kind of meh is Ride with GPS, which is sort of this very weird situation.
I don't like Ride with GPS.
But there's no reason to pay for it, but it's and it's all this, it's really garbagey kind of 2000s style app.
Right.
But it has these features. Basically, it's almost its purpose isn't actually to be used. Its purpose is to be the data transfer point for other apps, right? So for example, for navigation, I use my actual biking GPS device, right? To load, if I want to go on Google Maps and I make a route on Google Maps and I want to load that map into my biking GPS device, I basically use a website that converts a Google Maps URL for directions into a special file, a route file of some kind. I forget what the extension is. And then I go to Ride with GPS and I import the file, and and then I send it from Ride with GPS to my device, and then I delete it from Ride with GPS because I'm not paying for it. So it's I don't have too many features there. And it's it's really just this data transfer conversion cloud syncing thing.
So total aside,
no one actually uses it, I think, to do their actual navigation.
Total aside, more businessy, that type of service, the take data from one thing and move it to another thing, that is probably the hottest actual industry in the world right now.
Yeah, that's where they basically make all their money, because they're the sort of central app for, bike routes, right? Even though their actual app is kind of garbage, they're you want to make a route and share it. It's you do it on there, right? It's they're just the Google Drive and everyone else makes word processors.
Yep.
They're just like a Dropbox basically for one specific data type. And that's pretty interesting. It's similar to how if you're a DJ, there's the record box. It's who knows what, DJ thing you're using, right? You might just be using a Pioneer, DJ setup in the club, right? That doesn't connect to a computer, or it doesn't have to connect to a computer. You just connect a USB stick full of songs, right? But you use Record Box to prepare all of your tracks and the cue points and all that stuff in advance.
Yeah.
And there's also Serato and some other competitors, but it's Record Box is the one that can prepare your files on the USB stick to work with any possible DJ equipment, right? So there's sort of the Ride with GPS of DJing.
Yeah. It's interesting. On one hand, I don't whenever I see a niche like that, I think, wow, I could do it so much better. But then I step back and think, do I actually want to be in that business? And the answer is always no. No.
Well, the problem is that they've already done so much work, and solved all these problems, and you would have to resolve all of those before you could start competing on them with the features that they're failing on, right? Yep. It's they got all these fundamental things right in that it works, right? There's a way to make it work.
There's a high barrier to entry for competitors in that niche.
Right. It's like they're already handling all the data formats. They're doing all this, the core like back end work correctly of, setting things up. And it's like people are doing it now using those apps successfully. So you have to basically perfectly beat that core functionality. And then you can start being like, okay, their UI sucks. They've never tried to improve it. Now you can beat them there. Right.
Yep.
But you have to match them where they already are from starting from nothing.
So anyway, getting some actual gaming news. So the problem here is not new, but the news is more that it's becoming a growing problem and people are noticing it and it's starting to actively antagonize the chess community. Basically, people are aimbotting the shit out of online chess. Like everyone's cheating because
Right. Well, chess has become more popular online because people are stuck at home.
Yep.
People are playing more online chess and they're cheating.
Yep. Now it's funny because part of the reason why there's so much outrage about the chess cheating compared to like Counter-Strike cheating is that there's this odd perception among just like regular old people that people just cheat at video games. That's just what they do. But somehow my chess, that is a more pure, engaging exercise of the mind and the culture is better.
I think it's just the culture of chess, right? Is like, why are you playing chess if you're cheating? Like you're only cheating yourself. Like what's the point?
But Counter-Strike's
right?
the same way. Like cheating at Counter-Strike, it's not like you can join an esport. You can't actually play in a tournament if you're a cheater because they'll catch you.
Well, I think what it is that if you cheat at Counter-Strike, what are you going to get for it, right? You're not
super
gonna,
high
like,
rank in Steam.
Right, something like that. There might be drops and who knows what, right? But if you cheat at chess, the chess ranking system, unlike say the Counter-Strike one, actually has like matters, right?
I would argue the Counter-Strike one does matter in that.
Not as much as the chess one, right? If I go online
now.
and play chess and I use the AI helper to beat grandmasters, right? It's like being a chess grandmaster is a huge fucking deal, right? It's like they're like, you can't cheat your way into that.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing. Counter-Strike, what do they really get? Because people don't really cheat just to get the rank high up usually. We know why they cheat because they're griefing for a lot of reasons. They're often antagonizing the other players. They're having fun. But the interesting thing about this article is that the article talks about not just, people are cheating, and we'll talk about the details of that in a second, but the people who are cheating are sounding and acting and talking and trolling and griefing the same way Counter-Strike cheaters do. They're posting vile chat and like harassing people when they get caught and disrupting games, and it's literally the same crap that happens in video games now, like to a T, right down to like the post-cheating catch harassment.
Mm-hmm.
And the fascinating thing about chess is that on one hand, it's impossible to differentiate effectively between a player who is very good and a player who is cheating, because unlike Counter-Strike, where you could see that a human could not possibly have like tracked a head through a wall with their mouse that they could not see and then gotten the headshot on the first frame it was shootable. Chess is just a turn-based game. There's no difference between a cheater and a skilled player.
There's also no technological way to detect a chess cheating because it's just like you're just making your moves. Your cheating app is off to the side. It's not a modification of
my Counter-Strike cheat has to be on my computer fucking with my code in some fashion. Unless we build the robot.
You could sit there playing. You could play chess on your phone and have a supercomputer next to you that's telling you what move to play. And how are they going to know through the phone? The phone just thinks you're playing chess. It doesn't have any connection, physical or electronic connection to the cheating computer. The cheating computer just has a monitor that tells you what move to make.
Sorry, I'm responding to someone on the stream. I'll get to that in a second. Someone paid money to say words to us.
Why? Don't you have something better to do?
That'll be a news at the end of this. What they said. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's nothing bad. But the cool part is, it effectively is actually trivial to catch chess cheaters, because while it is true that chess's meta is stagnant, and that humans will probably never bring anything to the table in chess again unless we change the rules of chess or play chess in a different format. Like AIs will always beat humans forever. Like that's done.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
AIs, the only way humans can get better is by playing more and more like AIs. So you can't even do something like if a human does stuff that is very similar to the weird things that only AIs do, they are likely cribbing from an AI and we can catch them. That doesn't work because grandmasters are literally studying AIs and trying to learn the AI techniques.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and those AI techniques, even worse, almost always lead to draws. Like that's the end game of chess is everything's a draw. That's the fundamental. We've talked about this a lot on Geek Nights. But
if I'm going to cheat at chess, right? All I want to do, I'm probably going to be able to win unless the other person's also cheating, right?
Yep.
Why set your helping AI that you're using to cheat with? Don't set it at grandmaster level. Set it at like less than one master, like not even master.
You know what that's like?
Pretty good level.
It's like that. It's like the Counter-Strike cheat that just moves your mouse a little bit before you, like when you click before it fires. So you're like, get a little bit of an aimbot, but not a like pistol shot from across the map aimbot. Not a I'm in your spawn with a knife somehow before the match started cheat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh God, imagine the chess cheater who's just like, I just keep moving my pawns. You can't stop me. Here they come. But the way they're detecting them is basically if someone is too good, like if they're master or grandmaster level, if they're playing at that level in any chess app, 99% of the time they're cheating because the community of people who are actually that good is so small. And nobody is going to join one of these chess apps and start playing at that level without having been noticed by the real chess community before that. So basically,
it's like, so to compare it to Counter-Strike, it would be like, rather than saying, well, we saw you aimbotting, it's like, look, your kill death ratio is like 100-1. Nobody is that good. We can just see that. We just know that you're cheating just by that. It's like when you're playing Pac-Man and you look at the leaderboards just for score and you see a score that's like 1 billion and it's like, nobody can get 1 billion. I don't even need to see what you did when you played Pac-Man. I know that you're cheating because nobody can get that score.
So you can actually move, at least with chess cheating, to above a certain line, like above an egregiousness of chess cheating. You could do a guilty until proven innocent model for people who are caught.
Exactly.
And that seems to be what they're doing, and I bet it'll work.
If they're smart enough to be chess grandmasters, they're smart enough to figure this out.
Exactly.
As best possible.
But what's interesting is, what about all the people who are cheating at a lower level? Like, I don't think you can stop that the way you can in a non-turn-based game.
I don't think you can. But I think it also doesn't matter because there's nothing to be earned by cheating. Like I said, if I was going to undetectedly cheat by just slightly improving my own chess
People do that all the time. That's that service. Yeah. It's not a news. People were paying for that Destiny cheat that just made them better without getting them caught.
Yep. And it's like, sure, do that. And it's like, but it doesn't win you anything in life. So it's like, you know, you're not going to
what's
win
interesting
a chess tournament like that and win a money prize.
Well, even better, what I've realized is that unlike Counter-Strike cheating, with this chess cheating, if someone cheats a little bit, it doesn't matter because I'm playing online. I might as well be playing against an AI anyway. It doesn't matter that I'm playing chess against a human anymore. Like, chess AIs are just fine. Pick how difficult you want it to be. If a human is augmenting themselves with an AI, they're just playing like that slightly harder AI or a human who's at that level. So it actually doesn't matter at all. It doesn't actually disrupt my experience in any way because you can't.
It disrupts their rankings because the serious non-cheating people are also playing serious, truly competitive chess online. And now suddenly you look at the grandmaster rankings and it's like, okay, we see all the real grandmasters are there on the same site too. And it's like suddenly there's randos mixed in there.
But those randos will get weeded out by the you're not actually a grandmaster, guilty until proven innocent.
What if someone is?
Then that'll get sorted out pretty quick. There's a lot of ways to solve that problem. And if someone just gets lost in the woods, like lost in the weeds, they're the edge case. That sucks. But just like Counter-Strike, you might get banned when you're not cheating because you did something. But
it also messes up the person who maybe truly is a grandmaster, right? And is up and coming. Because they're using ELO, right? They might get ELO'd out by the cheaters and not rise.
Seems like they don't really like those grandmasters are not playing in the tournaments with the people who might be cheating and vice versa. This is mostly affecting regular people playing chess.
Whatever.
And enthusiasts, where it wouldn't matter. If everyone cheats to get to like a certain level that's below the threshold of cheating detection, then you just have to naturally get better enough to get above that on your own.
I think it's just clear that it's not just chess, but basically
any online game.
with the advent of the computer, right? Perfect information games, I think, are not long for this world.
Yep.
So,
like you play them out, and chess is basically could be played out. But you can read this article to see more info. So you got any news?
I do have a tiny news. So Sega's anniversary is going down, and what they're doing for their anniversary, I don't know if it's almost over. They're on Steam. They got some tiny free games, and they put out one game a day, and you just had to click and grab it while it was still available before it goes away, and then you've got the game forever. And some of these games are cute. There was like a Streets of Rage side scroller, but it was Yakuza themed, right? Combining two Sega franchises. They were just giving Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for PC just for free. And I guess if you whatever, you could just emulate it, right? But one of the games was Golden Axed, as in the past tense. You got axed, right? And this is apparently some prototype Golden Axe game that was never released way back when it was made, because they didn't like the prototype. They just made it and didn't release it. And it was, sort of a more bloody, gory kind of Golden Axe, right? Like, you chop someone's head off with the axe and blood spews or whatever. I didn't play it, but that's what I heard.
Yep.
And they're like, you know what? We'll dig this thing out of our vault and we'll release it to the world. Hey, everyone, it's going to be buggy and janky. We know. But you know what? It's free for you and as to celebrate our anniversary. And I think that's pretty cool. I'm sure Nintendo's got a lot of stuff in the vault that wasn't leaked.
I would love to play janky, like vertical slices of Nintendo concepts that never made it.
I mean, I know, right? So if they release that for an anniversary of Sega, that would be awesome. Or Nintendo, right? So what happens is the person who largely was responsible for Golden Axed, right, comes out on Twitter and tells the real story about how basically, typical game industry story, executives who don't know what the fuck they want.
7-day work weeks to force this game to, like, this vertical slice to get made
They
in the first
overworked
place.
this dude a zillion hours to crank this thing out. He didn't make what they asked for. They didn't even know what they wanted. They gave him the runaround. Then they never even released the thing. It's like a dark memory for this dude. And then they had to go and say, oh, like insulting it when they released it. Like, oh, it's all janky and buggy and broken, right? And he's like, right?
Now,
sort of opened up the old wounds here.
On one hand, work for hire, like, I think this guy's right in this case because of the crunch problem. But if I made something janky for my job and at some point the company released it for free or for pay or whatever and admitted how janky it was, like, that's work for hire. That's what happens when you're working for someone else. Like, that's not that big a deal. But the fact that they did this for something that they also forced this dude to work 2 14-hour, 7-day weeks to make, that is the problem. The crunch is never, ever justified in the video game industry. If that means a bunch of AAA studios go bankrupt, fuck them.
That's right. And the thing is, the crunch, it's like, okay, we made you work super overtime for a thing we didn't release. Right. It's like it might barely make it. All right. So let's think of a case where crunch might make sense, right?
All right, let's say you and
Apollo 13 is happening right now. We need the astrophysicists to work.
Yeah.
Right. Or we need the engineers to stay on the clock to save the astronauts' lives. That's crunch acceptable, right?
Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. I work for the Rangers. They're in it. Like, that's you're going to work as long as that overtime takes.
Yeah, but even then,
and the lead up
if
to
something
that.
more, right? But even in that case, compared to the people's lives are on the line Apollo 13 case, right? The Stanley Cup, while very, very important, is not life and death. So if something more important comes up, like, some major, you can leave. There's no reason to, hurt yourself.
Yeah.
You work really hard. You might work a few extra hours, but there's no reason to sacrifice your body or your life or anything for the Stanley Cup. Right.
Like, there's a reason why there's a concussion protocol. Even if the player wants to play, we don't let him.
Right. You push yourself to your limit in that case and then stop. Right. Yep. There's no reason to go overboard.
Or here's a
video game.
You and I
you
are making Tribes 2. And like, for some reason, like, we work extra hours to get it done because we're passionate about it. But we're not working.
There's no reason to hurt ourselves or sacrifice our bodies or, even if there's some sort of deadline, like we're back in the day where we have to push CDs or something, right? And we need to get it to the CD manufacturer, the gold copy, by a certain time or otherwise, the game will have to be delayed by several months, and then problems, right?
Yep.
Okay, that might justify a little bit of overworking, but hopefully we didn't fuck up to begin with, and we're on time, right? Because
Also,
we didn't manage anything poorly previously.
in functional, like sane industries, the way that works is if you work a lot of extra overtime to get something done, you either get a bunch of extra time off or compensation. The video game industry,
Right.
usually you just
get
laid
fired.
off, and your
You get
game
laid off
never
when
even
the
comes
game's
out.
done.
Yep.
That's right. And but for a game that is never released, for a prototype, for a demo, there is no reason to have, there should, I guess it would be unreasonable to work on a prototype you don't even know you're going to make for several months. That would be kind of ridiculous, because
Well,
it's
that,
like,
that actually is common and fine, but it's not common and fine to do that for several months with crunched hours.
Right, but I'm saying it's like, we don't even know if we're going to do this thing. Am I really going to pay someone for months to make a prototype? It's like, just make it crappier and make it faster. That way we can decide sooner whether we want to keep going with it or not.
Well, that
right?
I always go back to a philosophy I've had in careers, and think everyone should follow in their whole life. If someone's paying you to do something, you can and it's not crunch, like it's normal 40-hour work week. It's their money.
Yeah, sure, but I'm saying doing that is silly. But to crunch on a thing you're not sure is gonna be a real thing,
Yeah.
where it's like there's no deadline because you didn't even make it, so it didn't matter whether you did it or not. That's really kind of effed up.
Yep, like this could have just been delayed a couple weeks, and that guy
But
could have
anyway,
still made it.
The point is, it costs you nothing to play Golden Axe, so it doesn't benefit Sega really in any way. So go ahead and install Golden Axe and try it out. I didn't try it out yet, but I clicked on it on Steam, so I have it.
Oh yeah, I didn't click on it on Steam. I guess I could.
I don't know if it's still
might
out
have
or
missed
not.
it.
You have to check. There's a brief window, I think.
Yeah, I'll go check
Whatever.
on that.
You can just play regular Golden Axe. It's probably way better.
So
Just play arcade Golden
I could play
Axe.
Golden Axe again. I remember I had good times with that game.
You like Golden Axe, but you don't like Streets of Rage. Or...
I think the part of it was I only liked Golden Axe when I was kid brained, and fantasy was more important to me than Street Fight.
All right, so thematically, sure.
That was pretty much
You
it.
can ride around on the animals in Golden Axe. That's the thing.
I was like 11.
Sure.
Also, my main memory of Golden Axe is we were kicking that game's ass, and we were taking turns putting quarters into it, and someone kicked the machine, and we knocked the plug out. And to this, we never figured out who kicked it out.
At least the D&D one and River City Ransom have actual RPG elements. Golden Axe is just walk sideways and hit things.
Honestly, the D&D one was, as a kid, I remember it being better, but there's only one arcade that had it, so I didn't get to play it as much.
There's 2 D&D ones.
Yeah, the one where you could take the path to fight the Red Dragon,
Both of them.
or you could go the other path.
Pretty sure that's both of them.
Yeah, I don't remember which one's which at all. It was a cocktail cabinet, and it was in a pizza parlor. They also had an afterburner machine.
We
next to
played the whole game at RIT. We beat it.
I vaguely remember that.
One of them. I forget which one it was. One of the 2.
Don't remember which one it was. So
anyway,
in some last news, a while ago we talked about how Facebook requiring Facebook accounts on Oculus VR hardware was
correct.
causing problems, and that a lot of VR developers were reconsidering their plans to release stuff on that platform. And a lot of gamers are getting rid of their headsets or planning to get rid of their headsets. So
I did see a lot of people on Twitter buying Quest 2s with various reactions, positive and negative. So.
the Quest 2 is good hardware. I'll say that for it. But
I saw some complaints about the hardware aspects as well, and some positive things, so who knows?
But apparently, it is interesting because the split I see is people like me and people who are more close to the games industry are generally more down on the Oculus Quest 2. People who are less into gaming, and this is their first VR, they don't really know or think about it. They just get it, have a Facebook account, don't even think about it, totally fine. And at least for now, Steam just works with it. Everything just works. But the problem a bunch of people are having, and Upload VR has an article about it, is a lot of people bought it who don't have Facebook accounts. Not because they're like me and they hate Facebook, because they're young and they never thought to make a Facebook account. So they go to make a Facebook account. Facebook has a backlog of creating new accounts because they require proof of identity and all that nonsense. They'll lock your account out if they think it's suspicious, and they have
I never provided that. You have to do for a new account. You have to do that.
There's all sorts of nonsense in Facebook.
You can't just make a Facebook account and then you're good.
So Facebook accounts can get disabled if they're reviewed and Facebook isn't sure that you're an actual individual
All right,
person.
so that's what I thought, is that it was a post. It's not a pre thing; it's a post thing. They may give you your account, and then you verify your email or whatever.
People are getting
but then
new
they
accounts.
might disable it if
People are
it's
making
shady.
new accounts that are getting disabled pretty quickly because they only made the account for Facebook VR and they don't use it for anything else.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So if that happens and you don't like send them photos and do all the stuff you have to do, or even if you do it and they don't believe you, your account's just disabled permanently. Fuck you. And now you cannot even boot your Quest 2.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And there's a huge story here of a bunch of people who basically returned them or had to charge back their credit cards or otherwise could not use their Oculus Quest 2 because Facebook either disabled their account or wouldn't let them access an account they hadn't used in a long time, and they're just fucked.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see what Facebook does about that.
I don't think they care that much.
Yeah.
Oculus is not a large part of their money.
Yep. And as much as they want it to be.
The actual number of people this happened to is probably small in the grand scheme.
Well, especially considering the demographic that I think would likely be hit most by this are young people who don't even like care about Facebook or think about Facebook. And
where did those people get that much money to buy VR from?
their parents probably bought it for them.
Maybe.
VR is pretty hot right now because people are stuck at home. It's actually selling way better than it was previously.
Maybe.
I mean, it is. We have numbers. It's not.
Yeah, where are these numbers?
I mean, you want to do another news?
Yeah, if the VR numbers are up, that's an okay news.
All right, I'll do that in my next Tuesday news. It'll be about the current state of VR numbers.
Okay.
But
Write it
anyway,
down.
things of the day. The listener made this video. Just want to link to this video. They took the panel we did at the Crunchyroll Expo, and they made a supercut of it. So they cut it down. They distilled our 59 panel to 59 seconds. It is a 59-second distillation of our Judge Anime by its cover panel, and it's actually pretty great and pretty funny. This is worth watching.
Okay. I know who the listener is, by the way, but I'm not telling.
Yeah, I'm just the listener.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my thing of the day. So the Pusheen channel, Pusheen, much like GeekNights, is on every single internet channel. They got Instagram, they got the Twitter, they got the YouTube, they got pretty much everything. Pusheen has an account and they post there. And what Pusheen does is pretty much every week or so, they'll post something and they'll make like a new Pusheen content. And they will format that content for each platform specially so that like, on YouTube, it'll be a video. And then you'll go to Instagram and you'll see like a single animated GIF that's basically the same content as the video. Right. Yep. And it's sort of like these 4-panel cute Pusheens. However, for Halloween and to promote their Busheen, which is sold out, I don't know if it'll come back in stock at any point. They have made a full cute animation of Busheen in a haunted house.
The skeleton is great.
Yeah, and it's only on YouTube. I did not see this on any other Busheen platforms. So go to the official Pusheen YouTube channel and watch this tiny, cute Halloween animation that is high quality.
It is tiny and cute. In the meta moment, the book club book is still The Tale of Hanzo because we're just not reading books right now. Stay tuned. But
I don't know. I've been feeling a book reading mood, but it's telling me to read like fantasy sci-fi novel, and I'm like, no. If we're gonna read I still haven't read anything, but if we do read something,
I was about to say, if you read any fiction that is not The Tale of Genji, fuck you.
That's right. I got to read that one. I can't read any
I want to
others.
read The Tale of Genji. I just don't have time to read anything.
I mean, I do too, but it's.
Yeah, the only thing I'm feeling to read, like I want to read a bunch of stuff, including this, but the only things I'm actually reading are still nonfiction right now for a lot of reasons.
I read the internet. That's what I read.
Yep. But another meta moment, Danny, the listener on the stream, paid $4.99 to make sure we saw
Danny,
this message.
Your $5. You could do something better with those $5. You could have
Danny wants to
donated
know,
to like any Democratic campaign for anything.
This is a question that gets asked a lot on the YouTube channel. I keep trying. We got disrupted on following up on this. Will the Utena series continue? Now the answer is yes. Like we do want to continue it. We just got to actually do it with our remote setup.
Mm.
You want to do it this weekend? You want to record one?
No.
You want to watch one this weekend?
Yeah, I don't even remember which one we're on.
We're in Black Rose.
Yeah, I know that.
We're actually just getting to another good duel.
Isn't every duel a good duel? They're in every
Well,
episode.
no, because Black Rose has a bunch of non-duel episodes before the duels.
Oh, yeah, every other episode. Whatever.
All right, if you don't want to do it, maybe I'll just do one by myself this weekend.
You're just going to make Utena videos by yourself.
That'd be pretty easy to do. The only reason it's hard is that both of us have to watch it, and then we have to record it together, which, because of COVID, takes the same amount of effort as recording an entire goddamn panel.
Yeah,
It's
a
not
podcast makes no effort. Right? Utena videos take a lot of work to do, more work than even a panel, I think.
Yep, but the pre-production of a Utena before COVID only took about twice as much effort as a podcast. Like, we just had to sit down and like record the thing, and then the rest of the effort is me spending a few days like editing and futzing with it. But now the pre-production.
Listen, they're also, while I'm sure our Utena content was very good, or at least good-ish, right? There are people who do exactly that way, way, way better than us. Go check out Empty Movement on Twitter, and like they are way more Utena expert than we ever will be. You don't need to come to us for that. You can go to someone else for that. Like literally, they're 100% Utena all the time.
Yep, listeners have basically said in our YouTube channel, effectively, the thing we do that's different is that we go for a really long time about an individual episode.
No one else does that?
Not really. Like we go
well, the
way
clips
deep.
get copyright strikes, so that's a problem.
Yep, I did get around that because the last one we uploaded, where I made some changes to how I did the clips, I got far fewer copyright strikes.
That's okay.
I actually fought all the strikes and won. It was just a pain in the ass, and I had to open myself up to significant legal liability. But so far, it worked.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, we'll try to. Basically, it's at this point, it's a matter of, is Scott willing to do it? Because I'm ready.
You're ready. You're just gonna push this on me.
Well, if you want to do
all these months/years, you haven't done anything, and now you're gonna blame me
I
for
actually
that?
did edit together a bunch. I pulled all the clips out I wanted to talk about for the next episode of Utena.
When did you do that? About 4 years ago?
I did that actually a bit before PAX East, and I thought, after PAX East, then things calm down and I can work on stuff, and then the world got weird. We'll see.
You could, in the time it takes to wait for us to do this, you could just watch Utena several times, and then nothing we could possibly tell you would be new information. You would have learned everything that we would tell you.
What's sad is all those videos keep getting comments, and like people keep finding them, and like they get to the last one, and that one has mostly comments saying, "Oh, where's the next one? Did they die? What happened to those two guys?"
Even though there's a whole YouTube channel full of content, what happened to those guys?
Oh, the people who watch the Utena videos tend to not be subscribers to the rest of our stuff. They're like a separate group.
I can see that, but usually on YouTube, like I'll click on the channel underneath the video to see what else that person made.
A subset of them are watching these streams, and they actually ask this question a lot in the stream. This is the first time someone paid money to ask the question.
Dude, take your $5 and do something
it's too
a lot
late.
better with
It's
it.
too late. I got the $5.
Well,
it's
I'm
mine
gonna
now.
donate. I'm gonna donate the $5.
You want your
$5.
$249 after taxes? Well, before taxes?
No, Google paid me the whole $5 so I could donate all of it.
No, it's 50-50. We got to split that money.
Oh, you're gonna donate your $250?
I will use it to produce the Utena video.
What are you doing?
Otherwise, we don't have any cons coming up like for a while now.
You don't have anything coming up.
Yep, it's the election's coming. Vote for Joe Biden. Like seriously, don't vote for a third party. That's fake.
I'm always tired of people who are like, you get like there are people who are like vote, and it's like
no, if you're gonna vote for Trump, don't vote. Like seriously, don't vote unless you're voting for Joe Biden. Like
vote for Joe Biden or don't.
Yep.
And actually, don't just vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah, there's no don't. Remember,
if you are eligible to vote in the United States of America and you do not successfully vote for Joe Biden, go fuck yourself.
We if you haven't read the GeekNights Terms of Service, which we're still evolving, like we're got to work on that more. I got some more changes I want to put into the Git repo. But anyway, it is actually against our terms of service to be a member of the American Republican Party and interact with us on social media. Like I'm not joking because we consider it a hate group. So yeah, vote for Joe Biden. We can fix the problems that Joe Biden will cause a lot more easily if he's the person we're fighting. Think of it that way.
He's kind of a pushover, right?
Yeah. Also, his platform is pretty good. He actually adopted a lot of Bernie stuff and a lot of Warren stuff.
It's better than Watch the World
literally
Burn
kill everybody.
platform.
Yeah.
Kill everybody. The platform. If you care about other human beings,
Yep.
vote.
But
If you don't care about other human beings, go fuck yourself.
All right. Star Wars Squadrons. This game, pretty good. Like, spoilers, it's worth $40. Like, actually, the fact that it's only $40.
Surprised that it's $40.
$40 with no microtransactions.
And no DLCs so far.
Yep. Everything you can possibly unlock in this game is entirely inside of the game. Like, that's it. You just play the game, so get stuff.
Everything that they said on paper coming up to the leading up to this game, despite it being an EA published game, it was made by Motive in Canada, I think, right?
Yeah.
I knew I tangentially am acquainted with some of the people that worked on it, kinda. I think, at least one former GeekNights listener worked on this game.
It's fun when I notice a game that comes out and like some of the people who made it are tweeting and they're people I follow because they're games people. And every now and then it's like, oh, that person follows me too. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, I know who that is. Oh.
But anyway, so it is the actual successor to X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and X-Wing Alliance, which came out 20 years ago. So 20 years after X-Wing Alliance, we get Star Wars Squadrons.
All we need is the Pokemon MMO to come out, and Scott and I are, in fact, the prophets of this era of game design.
That's right. So this game is a game in which you fly inside one of 8 Star Wars starfighting ships for, either, let's see, you got your X-Wing, you got your A-Wing, you got your Y-Wing, and you got this weird support thing. I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, the U-Wing.
U-Wing. I never heard of a U-Wing anyway. And then on the Empire side, you got your TIE Fighter, you got your TIE Interceptor.
My boy.
You got your TIE Bomba. And then you got this fucking, I don't know what the hell it is.
Yeah,
weird ass thing.
Because no, they don't have a B-Wing because that would be OP. There's no TIE Defender, you nerds. Like that, let that go.
Yeah, it's Fighter, Interceptor, Bomber, and weird thing.
So here's the deal with the game. First off, it has a single player campaign that is like 5 to 10 hours worth of content. Like it's not
I played
long.
the entire thing. It is a single player campaign. It has a plot. It has characters. It's mildly interesting.
Yep.
It's not too shabby.
The missions are pretty fun.
Right. Some of it's fun. Some of it's frustrating. You can sort of tell that the purpose of it is really training to teach you to play this game by introducing things, mission by mission, to get you up to speed. It's a long tutorial in disguise, right?
Yeah. This is not like TIE Fighter where you literally have like dozens and dozens and dozens of missions and branching nonsense and secret objectives. And like, it's not a campaign.
No, it's not that. It's less than 20 missions, maybe even less than 15. It's the same missions no matter what. You play both light side and dark side. You have 2 characters, actually. Some missions you're one character on the light side, and sometimes you're an Imperial character doing the other side. And it flips back and forth, mission to mission, as you go forward. And you see what one character is doing. You see what the other set of characters are doing, how they interact with each other. It's worth a playthrough. But is it worth $40? I don't know about that, right? If that's all you want to do, I don't know if $40 is too much. Wait for the price to go down to at least $20, because that's basically one day of entertainment. And I figure a movie can cost up to $20, sometimes. So that's a good deal if you pay $20 and just play this game in a day.
Yep. Live a Star Wars movie, like fight for 5 to 10 hours, maybe play through a couple times, put it on a higher difficulty, but then you'll run out of steam. This game is really aimed at if you want to do multiplayer, which frankly was my literal dream from the moment I first played that X-Wing game with my flight stick when I was a kid until today when I could finally realize it. And in terms of that, they got it like 90% right already. And most of the complaints I have are bug fixes primarily. And
well, they fixed a lot of them.
Yeah, they're fixing bugs like at a steady clip already. So
so this is a game where I think that the story of the game is that, in the grand scheme, when you zoom out, it's kind of perfect, right? When you zoom in a little bit more, it's like, okay, they got all the fundamentals exactly right. It's a Star Wars game. You can play it in VR even,
Yep,
right?
we'll
It
get
looks
to
like
that.
you're in the ship. You have all the controls, the complexity of the game. It's more complex than an arcade, situation, but it's less complex than like a true flight sim, which is exactly in the exact right spot you want it to be in.
Yep.
Right?
And don't worry, in this review,
It
we're
is
going to get into some details of what we mean by that specifics. Stay
It
tuned.
is a skill-based, right, multiplayer free space shooting game. It is not a game where you pay to win. It is not a game where you grind to win. It's
Yep.
nothing like that. It's literally a skill-based, high skill cap game.
Meaning, if someone's good, they will just fucking destroy you.
That's right. Exactly.
Which is happening to us. Our squad, not the finest.
No, it's not. So those fundamentals are all there. They're all in place. You pay for the game once. You can play it forever. There's no subscription. There's no nothing, right? What they got wrong is the game. It feels like what they did is they had like a checklist of things like we need to do all these things to release. And they did all those things. They completed the list 100%. And then they released. And they did not spend the extra 6 months of polishing it until there wasn't a single scratch. And there's lots and lots, not lots and lots, but a nice handful of tiny niggly bits and rough edges that are not polished away. Some of them were major bugs that have been fixed. But there are still, rough edges because it feels like they finished it and pushed it out rather than really making it super awesome. Which is probably why it's able to be $40 and not who knows how much.
Now, the cool thing is all the polish issues are things that are easily fixed and seem like they're being fixed mostly as bugs or minor improvements post-release.
Quite a few have been fixed, yeah.
And I think a lot of the rest of them will too. And I would say that the majority of the problems are in the tutorials and the menus.
Yes, for sure. Also, despite the fact that it's a good thing there's no DLCs or microtransactions or any other kind of bullshit like that, it is somewhat of a negative in that it doesn't look like there's ever going to be more content for this game. This is the whole game, the end.
Which I'm good with because all I want is to get good at the skill of the game. Like, I don't want more ships to appear. I don't want more characters. I just want... I'd be okay if at some point they added like more types of competitive formats.
Yes, it's good and bad, right? It's good in that this is the game, get good at it, right? We spent a whole bunch of the show just now talking about chess.
But if you don't want to get good at it...
There's no expansions for chess, right? But if you're the kind of person who seeks novelty, right, and you're not in it for deep, going deep on the game that exists and getting really good at it, you just want to, you will, even if you play multiplayer, probably get tired of this game once you've played in all the ships and all the formats and all the maps. And there's nothing more for me, right? If you're the kind of person who wants like Smash Brothers, where there's more maps, more characters, more, this game is not for you. It will run out on you. The only way you can get more replay out of this game is personal skill development, like a fighting game that doesn't have too many characters to choose from.
And the thing is, that is something that's what I personally seek out of games, but that is not what most people seek out of games. So you really need to understand and think about this. Are you the kind of person who plays Counter-Strike, gets mad that you're ranked low and everyone's better than you, and then go and play Overwatch, and then get mad because everyone's better than you? Guess what's going to happen in this game?
Right. Also, are you the kind of person who's maybe good at Counter-Strike and you play Dust, and then you play Italy, and I don't even know what maps they have these days, Office, whatever, right? And then you get around and you're back on Dust again, and then you're on Dust 2, and you're like, Dust again, right? You're not interested in playing Dust for the 100th time because you feel like it's so boring. You've done it 100 times versus someone who's like, I don't care what map it is. I will become the master of, I need to play Dust 100 more times. There's things about it I haven't perfected.
I mean, I would go to servers that were just Dust only because I wanted to just play Dust.
Right, exactly. So if you get bored by the same content over and over, regardless of your skill advancement, you're going to get bored by this game because there's only a handful of maps and 8 ships.
Yep.
You customize the ships a little bit, but it seems like that some of the customizations are just better. And there's not a lot of choice going on there.
Though part of that is the relatively small player base and the lack of matchmaking data is skewing that. But I think there will be some minor balance tweaks as the game goes on and the meta settles in.
It doesn't appear that there's actually an organized competitive scene yet. So there's sort of a lack of a universal meta, or at least a visible one that like I guess we had to join some. Maybe I can go find like a subreddit for this game and see what people are saying.
Yeah. The other thing I'd say is the community seems pretty good and chill. Like we were playing a match the other day.
Mostly.
Now we're the jerk. Like I hate when people do this in Overwatch, and I hate that I'm doing it in this game. I was only doing it in this game because the in-game voice wasn't working great when it first came out. But I hate it in Overwatch when I join a game and there's a group of people who are on my rando team, but they're doing their own voice in Discord, so I can't talk to them or hear them. Because this game absolutely requires you to coordinate with your teammates. You literally have to be like calling for fire support and like calling out targets and constantly communicating, or you're just going to get crushed.
Yeah, I kind of wish that like I have turned off the voice chat just because I don't want to hear anyone yelling awful stuff, right? But I do wish I could turn it on because I'm hoping maybe, like when I played PUBG, there were times where I would play like the team PUBG where it like throws you in with a team of 4 people randomly, right? And I would occasionally get in with a good group and they would teach me something, right?
Oh, but this game too. Skojo, while we were playing, he was both in our Discord and in the team chat. And we were getting wrecked like way more than usual. Like we'd been doing better that session, and then we were just getting fucking destroyed. And we couldn't figure out why. And then he explains to us that the other people on our team actually explained to him the glitch that the other team was exploiting and why we were losing.
Yep, there's that lack of polish yet again, right?
But like in Overwatch, I'm always in the voice chat with randos. I play with randos 90% of the time, and you know what? Maybe 1 in every 100 games does someone say something even remotely objectionable.
All right. So you know what? Next time we play, let's just not use Discord. Let's use the in-game chat and see what happens. All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how the game actually works. So there's a dogfighting mode. The dogfighting mode is literally just shoot other people, see who gets the, kill the other people a lot.
Great. And the cool thing is I play it a lot. The meta is all over the place. Sometimes I join and like everyone's in interceptors, which you might expect. Like, ooh, the super fragile, super fast, high skill cap.
You're not trying to destroy capital ships. Why would you use a bomber in a fighter on fighter, dogfight? The interceptor and the A-wing should be like the only ones you should see out there, right? Right? But no, people bring out the X-wing. They bring out the TIE bomber. It's like, it's not necessarily a bad choice.
Yeah, because the ships are pretty well balanced. Like they're.
No one brings out the support ship though in the dogfight.
Some people do. I don't know if the support ships are necessary in the meta or if they only exist to give people who are not as good at the rest of the game something to do and engage with. Kind of like how Team Fortress 2 had the healer. That really wasn't fun compared to Overwatch, where the healers are actually very high skill.
You could do a whole episode of GeekNights about how support roles in games exist to give people like a non-murderous task and also a lower skill cap task.
But that's the fact that we tie the non-murderous and the lower skill cap together, I think is the problem. I think
they should make the support high skill too. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what Overwatch does. A lot of games do that now. Like there are low skill attack characters and high skill support characters. Like they've separated. You have 2 separate sliders in every character on skill cap.
Are the low skill ones just worse then and for competitive play because the high skill ones balance out the higher skill difficulty with more power in numbers?
To a degree, yes. In the top tiers of the meta, the lower skill characters just don't get played, but there are very high skill cap characters in every type.
Right. So I think that exact thing is also what happens with the ship customizations in Star Wars Squadrons. You'll look at, for example, like you're choosing which hull to put on your TIE fighter, right?
Yep.
And one of them will be like, well, if you use this hull, you can turn faster, but you'll go slower or something like that. And it's like, all right, whatever. And then there'll be another one that'll be like, oh, you know what? This one is just better, but piloting will be more difficult. And it's like, well, I can counteract that more difficult piloting with my skills by getting better. So this is just better than the other options. Mm-hmm. And so all of those, the options that trade numbers for numbers, right? Oh, it shoots faster, but shoots less accurately. Does more damage, but shoots less often, right? It's like the highest DPS one is the best one. It doesn't matter. Those trade-offs don't matter, right?
Unless you're not perfectly skilled.
Sure, of course. But once the idea is that if you play enough, your skills will balance out, the weapon or the armor that's like, yeah, okay, it's it does more damage, but it's hard to aim. Well, I can aim better, so that's just the best weapon, right? And I think in the end, those are going to be the only equipments that are used on all the ships are those ones that give just more numbers with a skill trade-off, because they'll just be better if you're skilled.
If at some point they did add more modes, even if they changed nothing else in the game, like more scenarios for combat, I think some of those options become more viable because of situational stuff.
Yep.
But the dogfighting mode, super, super fun. And if I have to give you any advice, I'm trying to follow this advice, but the game's real hard. The skill cap is up in the stratosphere. It's up in space. It's up by the stars. Like, I cannot do what I'm about to say, but learning the rudiments of like World War II era dogfighting, like the basic techniques of like how to shake a tail, how to call out like attacks, that stuff actually works and can help you be good at this game. You literally
How do you know it works if you haven't been able to do it?
Because I have played games with randos where they do call outs. They're not doing like thatch weaves. That might just be too hard. But what they are doing is like, I got a tail, and they ping the tail, and someone on the team will acknowledge that ping and disrupt it to save them, and they'll do this reliably. And I've seen other teams. I
don't even have the situational awareness to know where like all my teammates are, and like
Dude,
even if you said I had a tail and I
wheel?
wanted to come help you, I would spend like a minute finding you, and by then you're dead.
Scott, all you have to do, if I ping a target, then it'll give you an audio and a visual indication saying like rim ping to target. If you acknowledge that ping, it'll turn your targeting computer to point at whatever I pinged.
That's pretty good.
Do you not know how the game works? Did you not like?
I mean, I could. That was actually the one thing in the whole the entire like story mode. There was one point because the story mode's a tutorial, right?
Yeah, it makes you do everything one by one. Like
it makes you do everything once. The acknowledge ping is the one thing I never successfully did.
Oh, you don't have to do anything except click whatever button you bound to acknowledge ping, and whatever.
I don't know what the fuck. I still don't know what the fuck button it is. And when I had that on the screen during the tutorial / story, I went to the settings to figure out what button it was, and like I couldn't figure out which button it was, and I pushed buttons, and I didn't. It let me. It said I acknowledged the ping, but I couldn't tell what I did to acknowledge it, and I couldn't see on the screen the indicator of anything that looked like a ping or an acknowledgement. And I still have never seen one, so I don't even know what it looks like or sounds like.
So that's an aside, but it's an annoyance I had. The hardest part of this game was setting up my hot ass for it because there's a lot of things to bind. There are no defaults if you have a real joystick. Like there's no default that makes sense. You really have to customize it to your specific joystick. And due to the nature of modern joysticks, like my joystick combo here has like 48 buttons. And
that's too many buttons.
Yeah, because I'm not using a lot of them, because a lot of them I don't need for a game like this. I needed about 16 to bind everything that I use.
That's a good number, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But when I'm playing the game the first time, I tried to just dive into it, and there's no default, so everything's just nonsense. It would be like, hit button 27 on joystick 2, and I'm just like,
As an example of the lack of polish, right? Is that like...
Like a polished game would have come with a profile for every popular hot-ass setup.
Yeah. Even with my gamepad, which is actually the default setup. So I'm playing with a gamepad, and it is actually way better than I anticipated.
Oh, for real? Gamepad's like... You can play this game fine if you can't get a joystick.
It has to be a modern gamepad that has 2 analog sticks, 4 face buttons, a D-pad, start, select, and 2 L's and 2 R's. But if you have all that, you are good to go with this game. Like, I don't see myself buying a stick because I'm not playing this game enough to warrant spending all that money and giving up all that space. But gamepad is way better than I thought it was going to be. But even then... it would be like, hey, press this button. And I'd look down at my gamepad and be like, it says to push X, but I push X and it's not it. It's actually Y or it's actually A or it's actually something else. Right.
But I guess the moral is...
if I was using an actual Xbox controller and not this SN30 Pro Plus, I think it would have been absolutely correct. But I'm not. So
this is a game. I guess the important part of that is... you have to approach the first time you boot this game the way you would have approached the first time you turned on a DOS game in the old days. Meaning, you go to the menu. Before you do anything, you look at the control customization. You just go down the list, like sitting in front of your keyboard, joystick, whatever it is you're using. you make a guess at what everything that you could bind does, and you bind it to something that feels like it makes sense. Then try to play the game. You'll run into like 3/4 of those were terrible decisions. Now you understand. You remap everything again. After you go through this process like 4 times, you'll have everything bound to something that makes sense. Then you can play the game. There's no way around that.
On the gamepad, I see no need to rebind anything. I'm just sticking with the defaults, and they're perfectly great. It's just you have to go into the settings and figure out what the hell button they're actually talking about. Right?
Now the game does something good. It supports people who don't have a ton of buttons because a lot of things can be bound to a combo. Like you can bind ping and AC to hit a button to ping, hold that button to AC. Like you can do things like that. Or you can bind them to separate things. Binding them to separate things only makes sense if you're using a big-ass joystick. Like, I have all these toggle switches, so all my targeting computer stuff at the bottom of my throttle, I'm, like, flicking switches to do all that stuff, and it feels great. But if you don't have that, you can overload buttons on your joypad to make sure you can do everything you need to do. That's actually a really good design decision.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think...
So the main mode, right? We talk about the dogfighting mode, right? The main mode of this game is this fleet battle. And the fleet battle... is they set up a map, and on one end of the map is this MC-45,
it's
Alliance,
like
Rebel,
Mon Calamar cruiser looking thing.
Yeah. And then the other end is a Star Destroyer, normal one. And then there are 2 sort of capital ships, right? Frigates, basically.
Yep, 2 frigates or 2 like other types of ships.
Right. And then each side has sort of like this mini ship, right? In the case of the good guys, it's the Corvette, the very first ship first ship you see in Star Wars,
the one that
Princess Leia's on.
The one with the auto turrets that you fought with when you were playing TIE Fighter.
Exactly. And on the other side, the Empire has this Reaper ship, which is like a little mini Star Destroyer. It's like a little triangle guy. And then everyone launches.
I think that's just the assault ship.
It's a little triangle guy.
That is a little triangle guy.
Yeah. Anyway, everyone launches out of the capital ship, and it takes a while to like fly out to the battlefield, right? And you start shooting stuff, and if you destroy enemy stuff, you get points. If you destroy an enemy human, you'd get a lot of points. That's like a lot. It's big time.
Yep. There's also a bunch of AIs flying around, like just random TIE fighters.
There's just like garbage TIE fighters and X-Wings just flying around randomly, controlled by AI. They don't do much, and you actually don't even notice them unless you seek them out. But if you shoot them, you get a couple points. Like, it's not nothing.
And they do come after you. Like, they will actually like attack you. And if you're doing dumb stuff, they'll really come after you.
A little bit, yeah. If you fly too far, like if you fly out near the enemy frigates, they will just destroy you basically instantly. It's sort of like an instant kill zone, kind of.
Just like in old TIE Fighter. Like, you get too close to like a Rebel capital ship, you're just done. Unless you were crazy good. Like,
you could survive out there, but really you shouldn't. So you there's only so far you can go away from your capital ship that's safe. And you start scoring points, and the other team scores points. And whoever scores more points, you'll see at the top of the screen, this is bar that goes back and forth. And it'll give one team the advantage. So if you have the advantage, it will now be safer for you to go further out. And so now you can start attacking their capital ships to try to destroy them.
So it's a lot like Nidhogg. You start in the middle, and you're trying to push all the way to the other side and destroy the enemy's thing.
There's like this instant kill zone sort of DMZ line, and by scoring points, killing enemies, blowing up ships, you're moving that line towards the enemy. And when you get hit, the line moves towards you. And eventually you destroy both their capital ships, right? Both of their frigates, whatever. And the line gets pushed all the way back to their capital ship, and then you can start destroying that. You have to it has individual systems to destroy, right?
Just like an old TIE Fighter. It's got less though. Like, it's not like in the old games. It has
shields. It's it's a pain in the ass, but eventually you can take it out, and when you take it out, you win. And that's how it works.
So it's sort of a back and forth push, but the damage you do to those ships is permanent. So
yeah, the only thing that's not permanent is that the Corvette and the Reaper, the smallest sort of bigger than fighter.
You keep calling it a Reaper. The Reaper is the support ship on the Empire side.
Oh, what? Oh, the Raider. The Raider. It's very similar. They both start and end with R. The Raider. Anyway,
I don't play those support ships on either side at all.
No, me either. But you can, if you push your advantage, whichever side sort of is currently like on the attack will have it. Like if the rebels start pushing, a Corvette will spawn out of nowhere and start attacking, and you can sort of fly with it and defend it. because it will do a lot of damage if you can keep it alive. And meanwhile, if you're being attacked by the Corvette, you want to take that thing out quick, right? Because that'll give you a lot of points and sort of flip the field, and then the Raider will come out and you can attack with the Raider, right?
Now think about this too. You might all be like starfighters when the match starts, but once you get on the offense, you might have like someone flies back to the hangar, switches to a Y-wing.
Mm-hmm. Or
like
a bomber, which
ships.
is the equivalent. Yeah. Yeah, if you fly back, so if your frigates are still alive, they have healing zones in them that you can go into to heal, to get repaired on the battlefield.
Yep.
And as long as you're not dead, you can always go back to your capital ship. You just can fly as fast as possible right into the hangar, and it'll just suck you in perfectly every time. And then you can spawn a brand new ship in perfect quality, even if your capital ship is on the brink of death. You'll just come right out with a brand new X-Wing, good as new.
Generally, like, killing the humans who are playing, like dogfighting with the humans and taking them out, is the general thing to be doing, except when you have specific objectives along the way. You just got to coordinate with your team. The experience itself just feels like you're in a Star Wars movie. Like the actual fighting, when you don't run into glitches and it's just working, even if you're getting wrecked by the other team, it just feels really immersive and tight. Like the environments are really good. There's a bunch of different maps that this happens in. The only boring
one of the maps is not so good.
The boring one is the red mist one, because it's just a big open field with some mist you can theoretically fly into. But
at the top and bottom.
Yeah. But the other ones, like there's a big space station. You can actually get inside the space station.
The space station was the best one.
I was chasing a Y-Wing and he like went into the space station trying to get away from me. So I just flew to the other side of the space station and came around and like headed him off. And it felt so good. We lost because we suck, but that one moment was so sublime. I don't think he expected
the only thing about the game that doesn't feel absolutely perfect is the feeling of speed. Right?
You're the only person I've ever heard complain about this. No one else has this problem.
I'm complaining about it. So what happens is you can be even in like an A-wing, right, with the fastest engine. You turn it up to full speed, and you don't feel like you're going that fast.
See, I do. Just like, I don't know where you get this.
You're so far away, at least at the start. Let's say you spawn out of your capital ship. You are so far away from the action that it takes you just forever to get over there. It feels like forever, right? So it's sort of like going beep, beep, beep. But then, see, you are actually going fast. It's just that the distance is so great and you're in wide open space. It wasn't feeling fast. As soon as you get near things, it feels way too fast. It's like this exponential thing, right? Where it's like you'll be 1,000 whatever units of distance they're using to measure in this game.
Yep.
It tells you your range to your current target, right? So you'll be targeting an enemy TIE fighter, and it'll be like, oh, the enemy TIE fighter is 1,500 somethings away from you. And you're like, okay, you start flying towards it. It'll be like 15, 14, 13, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. It's exponential, right? So, and that's what the speed feels like. It's like when you're far away, it feels like, well, I guess I'm going to spend the next minute of this game getting back into the action. And then once you're in the action, it's like, too fast, like you're going past the
I wonder
the
if part of our difference
right?
in perception might be specifically because I am playing in VR.
It could be. The VR could definitely, modify the perception
Scott hasn't
greatly.
played in VR, but I'll talk about the VR a little bit, because a brilliant thing about this game is VR headset for the cockpit of a vehicle in space is like the ideal use case for a VR headset.
Pretty much, yeah.
Star Wars, by supporting that, the fact that the game works equally well on a desktop with a monitor or a VR headset, and it supports pretty much any modern VR headset, the fact that both are supported equally is great. The caveat is they do not let you ever have a third-person view. You are always first-person view. That is by design. They've talked a lot about why they made that decision.
You can't have third-person view even without VR. It's just there's only one camera. That's it. First person. The end.
But I will say this.
Cockpit.
The VR, the only part that doesn't just work are glitches early on that they've mostly fixed now, or configuring your shit, because it's really hard to configure your shit in VR before you've configured your shit. Bind all your stuff out of VR before you try VR the first time, or you will not be able to even open the menu, because you can't even see your keyboard. It's not like you can use your mouse. So I bound everything before I went in. But once you get VR working, it is the best way I can describe it is intense. It feels very, very real. It is terrifying to crash into something. Like in a way that like I wince, like physically, I react like I'm in a car that's about to crash. But the moment when you're sitting in like the cockpit visibility of the X-Wing is nuts. You turn around, you see R2 like sitting behind you. He's reacting to stuff. Like when I'm flying in VR, I'll literally like the enemy jukes to the left and I look left out my window and like kind of zoom around them and see them and come back around. I would say that VR also makes you better at the game. It is a better experience for competitive play, and it is a more immersive experience. It is the best way.
If you could, the ability to just look, right? It's like I could technically look using like the right stick or something, right? But I guess
sucks.
if you have enough hot ass, I guess.
Well, like
sticks,
my hot ass actually has a little like gamepad stick that my thumb can just use on the stick.
You could use that for looking around inside the cockpit if you wanted to.
In practice, you're never going to do that with a joystick. No, that just feels weird.
Would.
But
the VR gives you a greater field of view, which is a competitive advantage, no doubt.
But you can really, if you're going to play with VR, you really need a hot ass. You could possibly get away with a game like a joypad, like a gamepad of some kind, but I do highly
but you would
recommend.
Sort of lose. You could. I mean, the gamepad would be just fine even in VR, but you would lose the immersive aspect, right?
And the immersive aspect, like I cannot stress enough how real and intense and good it is. This gets into another thing that they did well. In the old like X-Wing, TIE Fighter type games, X-Wings and TIE Fighters didn't really feel that different. Like the game kind of felt the same no matter what ship you were flying. In this, like TIE Fighters are like the Imperial ships are very, very, very different from the Rebel ships. Like completely different skills, some different things to do.
It feels different to fly every single ship. There's only 8 ships, but there are 8 very different ships, right? It's like I feel like if they had included a TIE Defender or a B-Wing, it's like, would they? What else could they do that would feel that different?
Like, because in all the X-Wing games,
it might be different strategically, but it wouldn't, be different, feeling wise.
Like, you fly A-Wing, it doesn't actually feel different from an X-Wing. In this game, you fly an X-Wing, you feel like you're good, like you got this game, and then you try an A-Wing and you'll immediately crash because holy fuck is it fast.
Yeah, it's too fast.
But the visibility is a big factor too. Like the X-Wing, the Rebel ships in general have great visibility.
You can see everything. It's like you have a big glass dome. You can just see the whole world, and you fly a TIE Fighter, and it's like you're looking out a peephole at the world.
And in VR, it's funny because you look around and you see just like the inside of a TIE Fighter. I'm like I literally am like leaning forward in my seat to try to look down between my legs when I'm chasing someone. But also gameplay is very different. I'll give one example that drives home how like well they designed the game itself, irrespective of the polish problems. A big aspect of the old games was you can divert power between shields and weapons and engines. In this game, but it was very fiddly, like plus or minus a pip. Like you tune it constantly through the game. In this, you generally go between put it fucking all in engines or all in weapons or all in shield.
Yeah, the pips are still there, but it's like, do you really? It's like, to sit there fiddling with the pips. It's like, no, you're rather in engine mode, shield mode, if your ship has shields, or weapon mode. You got 3 modes.
The difference is radical. If you put it in engines, you're going like twice as fast. You put it in,
and when you're in engines, your boost will start charging, and you can use the boost.
Yep. Or you put it in weapons. You just have like your lasers are just better and stronger and recharging
when
faster.
You get near a capital ship, or it's like you have to, it's like you sort of have to like switch to weapons before you start shooting, then switch away from it. But if you switch to weapons when you're shooting someone fast, they might get away from you. So you have to keep it in engines, and then you're shooting them, but you're shooting them weak sauce, and you have to hit them more. You gotta figure it out.
But the TIE Fighters don't have shields.
No shields.
But instead, they have a thing they can do that the Rebel ships can't do. You can still divert power between between weapons and engines. That's the normal thing. You can also shunt power separately from the charging. And no Rebel ships can do this. So you can just take your engine power and transfer it into your weapons instantly. Like take all your boost and turn it into laser or vice versa. That is really like, I'm not good at that. We mostly fly Rebel, and I'm still like trying to learn how to do that effectively in a TIE Fighter.
I'm still not even entirely sure like the exact details of like how it works exactly.
Oh, it's real simple.
Right?
If you hit the button to shunt into weapon, it takes all your boost away and puts that equivalent amount of energy into laser charge instantly.
Okay,
With
but
no
and then
loss.
okay, but does it like what happens? Does it? But then future energy that I'm generating.
Nope, the
keeps
charging
going...
the charging is independent of the shunting.
Okay.
So if I tell it
So
so what I often do in a TIE fighter now, I put it in engine mode all the time. And anytime I need more lasers, I don't tell it to charge lasers. I just shunt my boost into my lasers directly. So
that's
I have
not a bad way to do it.
So my left thumb is on a stick to change the engine charging, like what's charging, and my right thumb on my hot ass is shunting power.
So the shunting button, the button that you use to shunt, at least on a gamepad, by default, if you're in an X-wing that has shields, that button instead does shield directionality. So you can put your shields forward or back or neutral.
Oh, you know
so
how I
it's
did
like
that on my
when you're
on
going
my,
in. When you're going in, like, you know, on an attack run, you put your shields forward,
Yep.
and then you shoot, and then you turn around and you're running away, right? Because the big strategy of this game is that when you die, the enemy team scores a lot of points.
Yep.
You don't want to die.
if you can get back home, even if you're out of action
Right.
for a while doing it, it is so worth it.
More important than killing is not dying, because when you die, you give them points and give them the advantage. So just go out there, do any amount of damage, go back and heal instead of dying. Even if you have 1 health left, that's actually good if you have 1 health left, right? You make it back and survive, right? That is great. So you put the rear shields on when you run away and you're all good.
Yep. So what I've got those bound to is on my joystick, my main one has 1, 2, 3, 4 hats. So one of those hats is for charging the engine stuff. On my throttle, I have 3 more hats. So one of the hats on the throttle is for redirecting the shields, and the other hat is for shunting energy. And the shunting energy, I made those directions match the charging directions on the other hat.
Yeah, the gamepad, just the default controls are to have the shunting and the shield directions on the same button, because when you're in a TIE fighter, you're never going to have shield directions. Yep. Right. And so it's the same button for either way. And it's the same user interface on the screen. The only difference is that the shunting is like left and right, and the shields are up and down.
And there's more things like that. But the moral of that is pretty simply just that the ships are very different from each other and require very different skills and have different
you
powers.
have to get good at all the ships, right? It's not like, say, other asymmetric games where you can specialize in one thing. Be like, I play Guile, I main Samus. It's like, no. You got to be good at all fucking 8 of these ships if you want to play this game.
Yep. Or like right now,
Eventually.
I'm practicing hard with the A-Wing. I'm getting pretty good at it. Like I am good at the A-Wing, and I did a decent job in our last game of keeping people off of you guys. Like it was working out. I got a lot of kills. But I go play the Interceptor. The Imperial equivalent of the A-Wing is the TIE Interceptor. That's their Interceptor. I'm just a garbage baby at it, even though it's the Interceptor. It's so different from the A-Wing that I can't fucking fly it.
Yep.
That is what's making this game great. That is where I'm finding a lot of the fun I'm having, is just every decision you make in the game matters a lot.
Mm-hmm. So I think who should buy this game?
If you have a VR headset, honestly, like just get this game, because this is...
Oh, yeah, because there's like, what other game are you going to get? Right?
Yeah, no game.
If you're a VR.
Like this game is just, don't buy a VR headset just for this game.
No.
But if you already have a VR headset, this is a must-buy game.
Yeah.
Even if you just play the tutorial.
If, like us, you really like the old TIE Fighters, X-Wings and whatnot, then you got to get this game. If you're a Star Wars fan who is fantasized about flying Star Wars ships, get this game. If you're so rich that $40 means nothing to you, get this game.
Yep.
If you really like getting competitively good at a high skill game, and you want to do a space shooting game, you can get this game.
Yep.
If you want to do the single player of this game and not are interested in multiplayer, I would wait for it to be cheap and then get this game.
If you get really salty when you don't get rewarded by just playing, like if you need like loot boxes and nonsense to keep you playing a game,
you do unlock some skins and things, kind of.
Oh, yeah, but you don't get anything that helps you with the game. Nothing progresses in a meaningful way unless you get better at flying.
That's it, right. You could play this game for a year, and if you don't get better at it, you'll still be rank trash.
Yep. If you struggle with that in other games, do not get this game, because this game, unlike a lot of other games that have high skill caps in competition, this game basically gives you nothing if you are bad at it.
Yeah, if Star Wars and skill-based competitive multiplayer are not for you, this game is not for you. Do not get this game.
Yep.
This game will have a bad time.
If you hot asses and joysticks are just sold out and really hard to get, you do not need one to play this game. Like Scott said,
the gamepad is way better than you like. I figured gamepad was poop. I was going to do mouse and keyboard. No, gamepad, with 2 analog sticks, a modern gamepad is totally legit at this game. But they did a way good job of gamepad support because I think the game got console releases.
Yep.
We've only played the PC version, but I assume the console ones are the same as the experience I'm having only on a television.
I recommend, if you're serious about the game, getting a full-on hot ass, like hands-on throttle and stick, because it would
probably help at least a little bit, but I don't think it help. I think the difference is less than I thought before playing.
Yeah.
But it's obviously that just from playing with the gamepad, it's obvious the hot ass would be better.
Yep.
But I previously thought it would be a lot better, and now I'm saying it's probably moderately or maybe even just a little better.
I think it's a lot better at very high skill, but I am not that. So
yeah, well, I think they did. There was recently, that's an example of a bug fix. They recently fixed like the dead zones on actual joysticks and whatnot.
Oh yeah, they basically made joysticks way worse than they fixed it.
But they fixed it now, so it's all good.
But the hot ass is definitely a lot more fun.
Oh,
but
yeah,
if you can't get a hold of one,
more immersive.
It's fun enough with a gamepad until you get your your back order of a Logitech thing. I personally recommend the Cytec or Logitech, I guess X56 stick and throttle. That one actually works.
I think there's two Logitech models I think that they currently make. There's like a super high-end one and a super normal one. I think the normal one's going to get you there because this is not you don't need the super fancy extra expensive one. You can just get the regular expensive one.
I only got the more expensive one because one, I found a place I could buy it, and the cheaper one was out of stock, and I really wanted it as fast as possible. And two, I'm also planning to get deep into Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I did need all those toggle switches for that.
If you're doing Microsoft Flight Simulator, then yeah, you're gonna want that.
But you don't need foot pedals for this game. Most likely.
No, they won't help you that much
because
so there's an X56 hot ass and
that's
an
what
X50. There's an X52 and an X52 professional. The X56 is $250. The 52 is $150, and the 52 professional is $200. You'll be fine with those 52s for this game. They are going to get you there. They'll probably even get you there for Microsoft Flight Simulator. But if you get really serious, you're going to need that X56. And also, it seems like they make a lot of other stuff. Like there's actually, if you're doing Flight Simulator,
they got like panels of switches and buttons that mirror real cockpits of
they've got flight instrument panels, they got rudder pedals, they got yokes, right? They got all that kind of stuff. They got, the throttle quadrant that has the 3 separate things, on it, right?
Yep. I mean, the X56 does have a dual throttle. Dual throttle does not do anything for you in Star Wars.
No, it doesn't. The X52 is the one for Star Wars if this is your game. But, it's $150. So are you playing $150? You better really fucking love this game.
Which I think I do. Like, it's real fun. I guess the last thing I'll say is I'm glad that they definitely leaned into this is the successor to those games, because they added all these little touches, like you can go into the hangar and look at your ship. There's a briefing in the game, like they tell, like you get a briefing room. In competitive, there's a briefing room. You can like sit with your team and plot before you fight. The 2 stormtroopers that stand by the hangar in TIE Fighter the whole time and don't let you in until you like register your name, they're fucking standing there if you're playing in VR and you look behind you.
Yeah.
All those little touches are there. And I think all the polish issues are going to get resolved within another 3 or 4 months. They'll have resolved all those issues.
We'll see how much they continue to work on the game. It definitely feels like a game where they made it, they released it, and they like cut down to a skeleton crew to like barely get it through its release period. And I
wonder
feel
if they pushed it to get it out early because of COVID and people are stuck at home too.
Who knows? They're either going to see big numbers on it and then put more people on it and try to expand it, or they're going to be like, okay, original plan, right? Where this game is now, it is what it is. We'll keep these servers on for some period of years and then turn them off the end. Right?
Yep. Maybe re-release it or do something in the future. Like there's a lot of things they could do, but I guess the last complaint I have now, and this will hopefully also resolve itself, the matchmaking is not great. You will get matched against people who are infinitely better than you, and you're just going to have to deal with that.
Yeah, they improved it, but it's still meh. The matchmaking is not great.
But we could always get together with some of you, like our squad versus like a squad of the listener. That could be fun.
Yeah, sure. I did notice though that after they so-called fixed the matchmaking, what was happening is we kept getting matched against the same people over and over.
Yep. Which
It's
was
like,
bad.
these people are in your skill range. Play. Oh, these people are still in your skill range. Play them again.
Because there was one of them,
Right.
I won't say their handle in case they're listening or like because there aren't that many people at that level maybe. They always flew the bombers and they were kind of bad. So I knew they were bad. So every time I saw them, I made a point of going out of my way to kill them because they were an easy kill. And we kept playing games and they kept being against us. So I kept like ragging on this one poor player for like 2 hours across games. And I felt bad, but kill's a kill.
Wow, it actually feels late, but it's 7:30 because it's the shitty time of year. And
God damn
I guess,
it. Geek Nights, it's actually recorded at night.
Oh no, it's recorded at night again for once. All right, well, I've talked enough about this game. I don't think there's anything more you can really learn about it because it's not really that big a game, right? Its depth is in the gameplay, not in the stuff. There's only so many maps.
There's a
and
lot more
things.
that could be said, but it's at the level of detail of let's talk about specific loadouts. Let's talk about specific strategies. That's not the kind of show Geek Nights is. Go find some Star Wars Squadrons podcast for that.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So Star War with us or don't. We'll be Star Warring for quite a while until who knows, right? Occasionally. And then what?
That's that.